11 people were reported dead after a trailer loaded with goods and passengers nosedived into a gully on the Abuja-Jos highway on Thursday evening. The accident, which occurred at the Hawan-Kibo village of Jos South local government area of Plateau State, also left at least 30 persons injured. The Plateau State Sector Commander of the Federal Road Safety Corps, FRSC, Alphonsus Godwin, who confirmed the incident in Jos, said that the trailer was heading to the south from Kano when the accident occurred. According to Godwin, the crash occurred as a result of brake failure and overloading. The Supreme Court has upheld the federal government's appeal challenging the verdicts of the appeal court, which dismissed the charges against Nnamdi Kanu. In upholding the government's appeal, the Supreme Court held that the Kanu must face trial at the Federal High Court. The Supreme Court, in the judgment delivered by Justice Emmanuel Agim but prepared by Justice Garba Lawal, held that the Court of Appeal was wrong to rule that Kanu could not be tried again based on the illegality perpetrated against him by the federal government following the invasion of his home. Also, the court held that although the Nigerian government was reckless and unlawfully rendered Kanu from Kenya, such unlawful act has not divested any court from proceeding with trial. Justice Lawal said no Nigerian law was cited in the suit seeking Kanu's release on the grounds of unlawful abduction from Kenya. According to the court, at the moment, the remedy for such an action is for Kanu to file a civil matter against the act instead of removing the powers of the court to continue with his trial for alleged criminal charges.
The Supreme Court is the Supreme Court. What the Supreme Court says represents the law. We respect it. We go by it. There is no other way. We had hoped that it would come our way, but it has gone the other way. It simply means that we have to go back to the High Court and get done with this quickly. We still have hope. We're not in despair.
By the grace of God,
yes, so
victory is assured.
Yes,
at the end of the day.
We will lose a little time. We still have to go back. That's all it means. But I'm very consoled by what the Supreme Court said, that he ought not to have been treated the way he was treated. His bail ought not to have been revoked. His home ought to have been invaded. All that is a consolation to us. So we have hope. Thank you very much.
The wave of resignations that has hit the Rivers State Executive Council has continued as 3 more commissioners have joined the fray after 4 resignations from Governor Siminalayi Fubara's cabinet on Thursday. The Commissioners for Housing, Gift Olu, Commissioner for Education, Chinedu Mom, and the Commissioner of Transport, Jacobson Mbina, resigned on Friday. In his letter addressed to the governor, Wolu said that his resignation as the Commissioner for Housing is because of personal reasons that require immediate attention. In his own letter, Mom said that he resigned his appointment as Commissioner for Education on personal reasons. Recall that the gale of resignations started on Thursday with Attorney General and Commissioner for Justice Zaccheaus Adango, whose resignation letter was dated November 14, 2023. He has followed the Ministry of Social Welfare and Rehabilitation Commissioner Nemi Aguma, Commissioner for Works George Kelly Alabo, as well as the Finance Commissioner Isaac Kamalu. Now, the new resignations leave the number of exited appointees at 7. The Central Bank of Nigeria disclosed in Abuja on Thursday its commitment to implementing strategies aimed at balancing the target exchange rates and curbing the surging inflation rate. Governor Olayemi Cardoso presented these plans to the National Assembly Joint Committee on Banking, Insurance and Other Financial Institutions. The report.
Highlighting the economic forecast for 2024, Governor Cardoso expressed optimism that both inflation and exchange rates would endure fluctuating pressures and achieve stability, projecting a positive outlook for Nigeria's domestic economy. Additionally, the CBN anticipated reduced revenue from oil exports for the fiscal year, with Nigerian foreign exchange markets trade reaching 18.804 billion naira in Q3 of 2023.
The bank has rolled out a number of strategies for rebuilding confidence in the Nigerian economy. A explicit focus on price stability through 1. Transitioning to an inflation targeting regime, which would include, of course, reliance on orthodox monetary policy instruments, rollback of quasi-fiscal operations, and more effective liquidity management.
Chairman of the Joint Committee, Senator Tokunbo Abiru, emphasized that the interactive session was organized in accordance with existing laws for the statutory briefing by the CBN. Commending the efforts of the CBN governor and the management team, co-chairman of the committee, Honorable Bashir Bello El-Rufai, praised the measures being implemented to stabilize the larger economy.
As we all know, the subsisting act of the CBN, that's CBN Act 2007, makes clear provisions for specific compliance obligations on the part of the CBN with respect to its reporting and briefing obligations to the National Assembly.
Both houses know the economic situation, know the difficult situation you've inherited, and we believe that you have the credentials, the capacity, the honesty, and the boldness to take us to the next level. Please, Mr. Governor and your team, use this experienced legislators, a lot of former governors, my chairman from the banking sector, and assist us to assist you, to assist the Nigerian people.
Both monetary and the fiscal authorities believed that Nigerians will begin to enjoy the dividends of the ongoing reforms.
The National Bureau of Statistics has disclosed that Nigeria's headline inflation has risen to a 20-year high of 28.2% in November. The NBS, in a report released on Friday, said that the headline inflation rate increased to 28.20% relative to October 2023 headline inflation rate, which was 27.33%. The figure is the highest record from data obtained on the website of the Central Bank of Nigeria. The bank's data started from 2023, and the NBS said that food inflation rate also increased to 32.84% on a year-on-year basis, which was 8.72% points higher compared to the rate recorded in November 2022. It said that the rise was caused by the increase in the average prices of bread and cereals, oil and fat, meat, coffee, tea and cocoa, potatoes, yam and other tubers. Now, joining us in the studio at this time to discuss this, we have Trust TV's business producer and presenter, Yusuf Akogu. Thank you so much, Yusuf, for joining us on the news update.
It's a pleasure to be here, Yuba.
Well, Nigeria's inflation rate has continued to rise. I mean, after all the efforts by the Central Bank of Nigeria, why do you think that the efforts by the CBN is not yielding and taming this inflation rate, really?
Well, thank you very much. Quite a whole lot need to be done. If you look at the rate we are having right now, based on the figures from NBS, as about 28.20%. That's the latest number. So from the beginning of the year, it has been on the upward trajectory from 21.82% in January to the current figure. So if you look at what the former leadership of the CBN did to control that, you understand that bringing down inflation is not just limited to, raising MPR alone, even though he had the backing of the World Bank and, of course, the IMF at the time to continue to tighten the monetary policy. That appears not to have worked. So that continued up until August, when the acting CBN governor, Mr. Folashadu, there after his own MPC meeting, the MPR was raised by 25 basis points to now about 18.75 basis points. So that appears not to have worked. So if you look at you listen to the CBN governor Mr. Cardoso earlier on, he did say that they are going back to their normal orthodox monetary policy, which means the CBN will no longer get involved in quasi policy like we had under the past CBN leadership. So I think with time we're going to see a moderation or a deceleration in inflation numbers, as the case may be. Mr. Cardoso is yet to hold any monetary policy. The last was meant to be in September. That was at the time he came on board. He deferred that. I think the one that follows it was also deferred as well. So we're actually looking at him. He's doing quite a whole lot to the ground, how to manage the exchange rate policies and so on. And so quite a whole lot are actually responsible for where the inflation number is now, the subsidy removal, the unification of exchange rate that has affected, the value of the naira, as the case may be. So all of these things add up together, are actually responsible for what we are having right now.
Exactly. So would it be enough then for the CBN governor to say that they are reverting back to their traditional mandate, given that you mentioned all of these other issues that are responsible for the inflation rate, and where should they really be focusing their energy?
Yes, there needs to be a synergy between the monetary and, of course, the fiscal authority. The fiscal authority has their own responsibility to carry out. While the CBN, the primary duty of CBN really is to manage monetary policy, which was what was lacking under the past leadership of CBN. So Mr. Cardoso has said, look, we are going back to the CBN as an institution is going back to its responsibility of managing the monetary policy. I think in due time, we're going to see inflation rates coming down. He's, like I said, he has deferred it to Monetary Policy Committee he was supposed to help, because he is actually doing quite a whole lot right now. A lot of reforms is actually going on. Maybe by the time he is satisfied with what he is doing, probably we might see the inflation numbers, beginning to come down. If you look at the global inflation rate projection, is about 8.7%. So, and if you compare Nigeria even to some other African countries like Egypt, which is currently at 38.1%, Ghana is way above 30%, 32.5% or thereabout. So we are not really doing badly in terms of that, if you look at our numbers and, of course, the size of our economy. So I think in due time, we're going to see the result of the ongoing reforms by CBN and, of course, the larger economy.
All right, that's quite optimistic. Yusuf, thank you so much for joining us on the news update and for the insight on this issue. Yusuf Akogu, producer and presenter, Trust TV. Thank you. All right. Now, the management of the ShopRite Mall has announced that it is stopping operations in its Kano State branch from January 14, 2024. The popular mall, in a circular made available to newsmen on Thursday, attributed its decision to financial difficulties and high production costs facing businesses in the country. This development is coming on the heels of the current announcement by Jumia Food to cease operation in Nigeria by the end of this month, citing growing economic challenges. In the circular, the supermarket noted that the decision is regrettable, but however necessary, hinting that all employees working at the mall will be laid off once it ceases operation in the state. The National Hajj Commission of Nigeria has put a stop to allocation of Hajj seats to private operators. NACON, through a press release, had earlier informed the public that federal government of Nigeria has facilitated obtainment of additional allocation of 30 slots for private tour operators sector from the previous 10 slots allocated by the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. In collaboration with the Ministry of Hajj and Umrah thereafter, parameters were set to choose the best on a scale of 40 highest scores. Now, NACON Chairman Jalal Arabi announced to the PTOs that the members with legitimate grievances pertaining to the qualification of any tour operator are encouraged to present well-documented facts and figures supporting their claims. You're watching the news update on Trust TV. Coming up shortly. Jigawa wheat farmers cry out distribution of items for irrigation. Details and more after the break.
what NAFDAC is doing is making sure we are safeguarding the health of the nation.
80 million people have been accounted for that have glaucoma worldwide.
The Nutrition Society of Nigeria is laying emphasis on exclusive breastfeeding of our babies.
The incidence of kidney disease in children has also been rising, with an estimated 1 in 10 Nigerian children affected.
And that sometimes those products contain things that could harm you more than you would expect. So you would have long-term damage which could affect your health over time.
Intermittent fasting indeed is beneficial.
Thanks for staying with us. You're watching the news update on Trust TV. Here's the reminder of our top stories. 16 dead, 25 injured in Jos Abuja road crash. Plus, Supreme Court overturns appeal court judgment, insists Nnamdi Kanu must face trial. In other news, the Nigeria Center for Disease Control and Prevention has debunked reports of fresh outbreaks of coronavirus in Benue State. The agency said that there was no fresh case of the disease in the state. The NCDC Director General, Ifedayo Adetifa, said that the media report is a complete misrepresentation of a statement made on December 11 by a World Health Organization's state surveillance officer at the civil society organizations and media personnel meeting organized by the Benue State Primary Health Care Board. According to Adetifa, in a statement issued on Thursday, December 14, the surveillance officer, while giving her presentation on the epidemiology of COVID-19 in Benue State, stated that the state had recorded a total of 25 cases in the year 2023, with the last case recorded as of mid-April. He said that the information provided by the surveillance officer was based on the publicly available situation report published weekly by the State Ministry of Health. Since the announcement of the index case of COVID-19 in Nigeria, the DG noted that there have been a total number of 6,013,826 tests conducted, 267,184 confirmed cases, and 3,155 deaths. Wheat farmers in Dutse, the Jigawa state capital, have faulted the process of distributing dry season farming inputs for the takeoff of this year's irrigation activities across the country. The distribution exercise is part of the federal government's collaboration with states to boost agriculture for economic sustainability. Adamu Imam visited one of the distribution centers within the state capital and filed in this report.
Agriculture is said to be a path to solving Nigeria's food crisis and ensuring economic prosperity. This can be achieved through soft loans to farmers as a way of boosting agriculture. However, some wheat farmers are lamenting that the process of of giving them loans by the government at the center is not in line with the idea of helping actual farmers in the country. Our challenge with this program is direct from the federal government for the 2023 wheat dry season farming. They brought fertilizer and agrochemicals without water pump machine and sprayers. How do they expect us to go ahead with irrigation? Secondly, farmers appeal that for the proposed fertilizer distribution, the federal government should stay with the urea and not NPK fertilizer, which they say is substandard. There are delays in the distribution process of these items. Despite being on the list and joining the queue, we are yet to get the items. People who are not farmers are coming to collect the items, leaving us the real farmers. Some collected the items long ago, but we have been coming here for 4 to 5 and even 9 days. While the distribution supervisor, Isa Inua, says some of the farmers' demands are not part of this year's dry season farming, claiming that they already have their pump machines and sprayer elsewhere.
We had wanted the process to be seamless, but you know human nature, it cannot be. And we are trying our best. But the major challenge we have is the inputs. In most cases, the agro dealers are not able to fulfill what has been agreed with them.
Although the federal government recently promised to prioritize due diligence in identifying real farmers across the country to avoid sabotaging the efforts, the situation is yet to change. Adam Imam, Trust TV News, Jigawa.
Now, on the foreign scene, a boy who went missing in 2017 and was found in France this week has spoken to his grandmother and is expected to return to the UK in the next few days. According to Police Assistant Chief Constable Chris Sykes of the Greater Manchester Force, said that Susan Caruana was content Alex Barty was her grandson, but further checks will be carried out when he arrived home. The family of the youngster, now aged 17, are said to be massively relieved. Alex disappeared with his mother and grandfather 6 years ago during a family holiday to Spain. He is believed to have been abducted by the pair to live an alternative lifestyle abroad. Despite international public appeals, Alex's grandmother, his legal guardian, had not seen him since he left the UK. The teenager was found near the French city of Toulouse on the Wednesday and taken to a police station in the village of Revel by Chirapodi student Fabian Asidini. And now in sports news, World Football Governing Body FIFA has approved a total of 30 Nigerian referees to be placed on the international list for 2024. Among the Nigerians are 11 referees, 11 assistant referees, 4 beach soccer referees and 4 futsal referees. In a message conveyed to the Nigerian Football Federation, the 11 referees approved for international duty from Nigeria for next year are Bashir Salisu, Ogabo Ode Joseph, Olufumilayo Alaba, and Nuruddin Abubakar, Abdusalam Abiola, and Elegwe Enekwole. Others are Akintoye Yemisi Eunice, Egba Patrick John, Madu Ndidi Patience, Mustafa Grema Muhammad, and Abdullahi Abubakar. The 11 persons approved as assistant referees are Padu Takam, Samuel, Igudia, Efosa Celestine, Abibatu, Iyaduni, Muhammad Yakubu, Umfon Friday Akpan, and Digbori Tejiri. Others are Usman Abdul Majid Olaide, Igo Hope, Ogene Kewe, and Tara Kabenda Beauty, Ahmad Mustafa Tijani, and Agbone's Faith, Oka Ndubisi, Odiogbona, and Musa Dung Davo, Omago Paul, Akbome, and Bello Zuru Al-Hassan were put on the futsal soccer list, among others. Now, Super Eagles striker Victor Osimhen has agreed a new 3-year deal with Napoli, which will see the African Footballer of the Year earning 10 million euros, an equivalent of 8.7 billion naira yearly. According to reports in Italian media, Napoli hastened to conclude negotiations on the new deal to ward off likely suitors. Reports say that Osimhen's agent, Roberto Calenda, held a meeting with the Napoli CEO, Aurelio De Laurentiis, on Wednesday night, where the draft agreement was reached, adding that Osimhen is now ready to sign a 3-year deal that will extend his deal at the club till the summer of 2026. His current contract with Napoli is expected to end in 2025, meaning that the new arrangement extends that deal by 1 year. Now, the clause inserted by Napoli ensures that the Italian champions will earn a huge fee from any club ready to take the former Under-17 World Cup winner away from the club, and also means that the Osimhen will not be held prisoner to any attractive offers that land his way. And still on sports news, a former governor of Anambra, rather on a tragic note, a former governor of Anambra State in the defunct Third Republic, Chukwuemeka Ezefe, has passed away. He died at the Federal Medical Center, Abuja. According to a statement issued on Friday and signed by Rob Ezefe on behalf of the family, the elder statesman died around 6 p.m. on Thursday. Chukwuemeka Ezefe was a former federal permanent secretary, former governor of Anambra State, former political advisor to the president, and former presidential aspirant. And that's a wrap on the news update. You can watch more via all our social media platforms and also on our YouTube live stream. I am Ayuba Ilya. Thanks for watching.